I'd say my highlight living in Taiwan so far was vacation over last Chinese New Year.
My favorite thing about Taiwan so far, I would have to say, is all of the sightseeing that you can do just inside or even around your own city. Personally, I really love hiking and exploring more like nature areas, and Taiwan has so many of those. So when the weather is good, on the weekends I find myself outdoors a lot of the time.
I really got to explore the island a lot, and I spent a few days on the beach in Kinting. And after that was able to go climb Jade Mountain, which is the highest mountain in East Asia. So it was very cool seeing the beauty of Taiwan, going from the hot beach to the mountain with a little bit of snow on top.
I've really enjoyed living in Taipei. I've lived here 7 years. The cost of living is so much lower than in the US, so I feel like I don't have to really worry about my budget. I can just do the things I want to do, and I don't have to worry about spending too much money each month. Another huge thing is that Taiwan is so safe. I can walk around by myself any time of the night, and I know that nothing's going to happen to me. So I really value that, especially coming from the US, and as being a woman, I just don't have to think about my personal safety at all.
I would say exploring the country was a real highlight for me. So my first year during Chinese New Year, I traveled around with a friend, and we went to Xiǎo and we saw sea turtles there. So we went snorkeling with the sea turtles and got some photos, underwater photos as well, and that was a real highlight for me.
The biggest highlight for me is transitioning to Taiwan. It was very easy. I felt the warmth and the love of the people around me. They are super open people and they like to help you. So everywhere I went and everything I did to get here I was helped by many of the local peoples that lived here. So I feel like that was probably one of the highlights. I enjoy friendliness and the community you feel here.
My highlight is I set a goal for myself this year to visit each and every town or city within the country. So far I've checked off half the island, but going to each of these towns I think gives you the chance to appreciate different cultures and really get to visit the old streets, the night markets, anything it sort of has to offer. So that's kind of been the highlight, being able to travel and have that time to do that, even though I am working full-time.
My highlight living in Taiwan, first of all, in terms of work, it's been really cool to see different children because Asian children are completely different from children I taught back home. It's made me develop as a teacher to learn new methods, to deal with the new culture. The way we teach here is very different from back home. And on a personal level, I've become much more independent. Being in a country where English is not the first language, it really makes you grow because you're so comfortable in the English country. Everybody speaks English, but when you go to a country where English isn't the first language, it makes you realize how little you know and just gives you an opportunity to grow in ways you normally wouldn't grow back home.
So teaching in Taiwan has been a different experience for me. Usually I don't work with so many different teachers, but it's nice here that I get to work with different teachers. We get to bounce ideas back and forth. It's good so that I can learn more from other people, and then they can also learn some tips and tricks that I have. So teaching here is a different environment, but there are benefits to it as well.
I've been teaching for 7 years now. And since coming to the company, I've never met a set of students that I enjoy teaching so much. I feel like this is the first time in my life where I've built tons of relationships with all of my students in the classroom, and they just make it an absolute pleasure to teach. This is definitely one of the bonuses of teaching at one of the Foresight schools and also teaching in Taiwan in general. The students are amazing. They're very well behaved and they are willing to learn.
just being able to teach so many different age groups and have experiences with many different groups of students. This year I feel fortunate that since I'm a mentor, I'm also able to sub different classes, so I have different experiences teaching from grade 1 all the way to grade 6, and just seeing those students able to progress from when they first start in English then to when they're, graduating from their elementary years and moving on.
Overall, I'm very impressed by the students' ability to learn a second language that is so different than their own. I know how they feel when they learn English because I feel the same way when I'm learning Chinese. It's a completely different set of writing, different pronunciation. There are so few things that they have in common. So I'm always impressed at how much the students actually know and how much you could just sit down and talk to them and they understand you.
There have been lots of highlights. One highlight for me is thinking back about my first year, because I was working in a team and we were developing lesson resources together, and getting to know people in Taiwan during that first year and getting to know the different documents we needed to use and getting to know my students. That was a highlight for me because it was a new experience for me and it was very interesting. But there have been many highlights during my time in Taiwan, and one recent highlight was we were firing water rockets at the school, and I did this along with a group of students and some other members of staff. And although some people got wet, it was really fun to fire the water rockets and to take the students outside. It was great.
I have 2 highlights teaching here in Taiwan. The first one being the students here are extremely hardworking and willing to try basically anything you throw at them, which brings me to my second point, which is working with this company and at the school. I've had a lot of freedom and creativity to create lessons and activities for each of the students to try. And it's really, really awesome to see the outcome once they've tried it and then move forward from there.
I think many people come to Taiwan for different reasons. Most of us within the Foresight community are drawn to come here for career growth, and we are all trained teachers who want to progress in our teaching field. And we come in with a focus on becoming better teachers. And then when you get here, you realize that, yes, that is a great opportunity that you have here to be able to kind of progress professionally, but you also have this really cool moment to connect with your students. So, for example, back teaching in previous countries, maybe you're teaching 6 or 7 different classes a day for 40 to 50 minutes of class time a day. So you see many students and you see them pretty quickly. Here it's a little different. Oftentimes you're meeting and having class with one group of students for up to 2 hours. You meet them multiple times a week. So you really have an opportunity to get to know your students and build that rapport with your students. So that is really one of the coolest opportunities that I didn't realize that I would have, just being able to connect with young Taiwanese students here and have that opportunity to get to know them and establish some rapport with them.